Hey guys, this is James from Man Tripping and Men Who Blog. We are here at another Men Who Blog virtual wine tasting. It's been a couple months since we've done one of these. I guess once COVID was over, everyone started going traveling on their own, which is awesome. I know I've been to a bunch of wineries, and hopefully you guys have as well. Tonight we're back, though. We have an awesome guest, Cameron Hughes, who has done a ton of different things in the wine industry here in California and maybe nationwide too. I'm not entirely sure. I know he's certainly made people nationwide happy with his wines. But tonight we got a cool concept where we're talking about wine futures, and it's a little different than when you go to the wine shop and just buy a really expensive bottle. But it's going to be a similar level of quality for a much lower price. So it's a pretty cool concept that I'm really excited to talk more about. But hey, rather than me just talking more, let's go throw the whole group up here. We've got Cameron, Tom, Stacy, and Cameron, why don't you go ahead and talk more about who you are and what you do, and go from there.
Hey, thanks, James. Excited to be here. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay now. I am a negociant or a wine trader. So I buy bulk wine, but don't let the bulk fool you. I only buy from super high-end producers, and I purchase their wine by the barrel, and I bottle it under my own label, which is Negoce or Negoce. The light's kind of crappy there, but will suffice. I think you guys can see it. And what we do, so when I get a wine, I'll buy 5,000 gallons of a wine. And as soon as we have it into our facility and we know it's in our hands, then we will offer it to our mailing list, which is at, you can sign up at www.denegoce.com, denegoce.com or denegoce.com. And you'll receive an offer for that wine at an incredible hot price. We usually sell somewhere 50-60% of the wine up front as a future. So this is before it's bottled. And so, for instance, this Russian River Chardonnay is $18 in the store now, but it was offered up front 7 months ago for $12 a bottle, right? And we have a Napa Valley Cabernet, which retails for almost $100 a bottle under its original label. That is originally was launched, I think, at $15 or $16 a bottle, and then we put it back up in the store. I think it's $25 in the store right now. So before the wine is bottled, it gets offered to you in a tranche 1 price. If there's still significant inventory left, there'll be a tranche 2 price a couple months later at a slightly higher price. But most wines tend to just go then into the bottle shop with about 6 or 8 months in the bottle. They're now through bottle shock. They're developed their bottle bouquet, their mid-palate complexity, and they're showing really well. The 2018s out of Napa Valley are big, huge, massive wines, powerfully structured, lots of wood on top of there, and lots of emerging fruit that's all still melding together. So those wines are still unwinding, quite frankly. 2019s, much more approachable. It's a totally different vintage, a tale of two vintages, quite to speak. So hopefully that gives you a general idea. I've been doing this for 20 years, extremely well connected in the business. We launched last year. We've done over 200 wines. And sold close to 100,000 cases of wine, which puts us squarely in the #1 direct-to-consumer brand in the wine business with just 1 year running. And that's because what's in the bottle absolutely rocks. I can cut 60, 70, 80% off what you would pay for that wine under its original label. We only buy top quality stuff, and you're getting the best deals in the business. Hands down, nobody comes close. I promise.
That's pretty awesome. It's funny. Everybody I feel like right now is talking about, in the DTC space especially, is talking about discount wine, cheaper wine, and all that kind of stuff. But I really love the fact that there's no bullshit when you talk about it. Like you're telling exactly what's going on. You're not trying to hide it.
Pull back the curtain.
I mean, I'm a fan of a lot of the big DTC wine clubs, and like First Leaf and Naked Wines and those guys, and they do great stuff. But at the end of the day, I feel like to the person who's not willing to go, look deeper, that it is what it is. But I feel like with what you're offering, it's a different kind of concept than kind of this high-low model that frankly works really well in consumer marketing.
It's next level stuff. There's no doubt about it. Those clubs are terrific. They serve a nice purpose, but they're built for, I think, I'll be honest with you, it's going to be a much more early entry wine consumer than what I'm going after. Yeah, I want everybody in here because I'm going to show you the way forward. But those are early approachable wines that have been softened and made a bit more approachable. They're not built for complexity. They're not built for aging. We have wines on here that'll go 30 years in a bottle that you can buy for $20. I'm not kidding you. Diamond Mountain Cabernets. I mean, it's an incredible assortment. And it is all made possible by this early purchasing cycle, because we can sell so much of the wine, cover the cost, and cash flow out the inventory in a way that nobody else can in the business. My balance sheet, it doesn't geek out on here, but our balance sheet looks better than just about anybody in the wine business, save for say Gallo or, Constellation Brands or Trinchero, these huge companies that have massive amounts of capital. Just because we cover the cost of that wine before we even have to pay for it. So that's why I can give you such an amazing price. But I've been doing this for 20 years. I'm a wine geek myself, and I don't try to take the wine in any other direction other than where it needs to go to be its best, to have its voice, to speak its terroir. That's what we shoot for. We're all about quality, and we're not trying to make things bigger, which is what you see with a lot of these other clubs. They'll buy one wine and try and fix it up with other small lots of high-end stuff, right? What we call silver bullet wines. I take the silver bullet, and even if it's only 200 or 300 cases worth of wine, I bottle that up and I sell it directly to you at an amazing price. Right?
And
so that's the difference.
Has made a ton of money doing that, but it's a different category, which I think is really exciting. So
yeah,
let's introduce Stacy and then Tom. Because I love these shows, the fact that you get different personalities. I think a lot of times in the wine industry, you end up getting the same four personalities from the same four people. And here we like to have something different perspectives and different knowledge bases. So, Stacey, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and why you love wine?
Okay. So I am Stacy in Atlanta on social media, and I also run a blog called divinelifestyle.com. And I have a little social media company called Bloom Digital Media, where I really help small businesses kind of get social. I either teach them how to do it or do it for them. But I've been doing that since 2009. Before that, and we also own a restaurant. Before that, I also came from the restaurant industry. So I have a background of a bunch of different restaurants, and I ended up at Buckhead Life Restaurant Group, which is a great restaurant group here in Atlanta, and doing marketing. And a lot of our marketing had to do with wine, and so it was really fun and just an appreciation of it myself. So that's really, I'm definitely from the consumer aspect. I mean, I don't know a ton about the production and stuff like that, but I do love wine.
James, your mic is off.
Oh, I know. I got rusty. I hadn't done a Zoom in a couple weeks. So actually, but anyhow, Tom, you bring a different perspective than certainly myself, which I love the fact that you have more of a tasting background and more sophisticated palate than I think a lot of people. But I love the fact that you're still in touch with the little people like myself who just simply enjoy the wine. So let's talk a little bit more kind of about your background and why you love wine.
Gotta unmute him.
Okay, there we go. Thanks, James, and what a pleasure to join Stacy, James, and Cameron tonight. As you saw, and we started out, I'm here at the Gaylord Opryland Hotel. I came in here, they just started out some really some wonderful music there in the lobby, so I want to make sure I could hear you guys. But, part of my background in wine, I mean, I've been doing bourbon blog for 15 years now, but part of my background in wine goes back to really my first experience in beverages and spirits. I worked in a wine bar in England in the early 2000s, and that's really what got me into wine, spirits, whiskeys, and, of course, then American whiskeys to start Bourbon Blog. But I've always loved wines. And I'm already tasting some of these, and these are splendid. These are really, really good wines. So I'm excited to learn more and to have a great conversation tonight.
Fantastic. Well, enough talking. Let's we'll have plenty of time to ask some questions through here. Let me see if anybody. So if anybody's watching along, I know a lot of you guys are. I can see the numbers. Feel free to post a question, and it should get picked up by the by StreamYard. But you can also post a comment on the blog post if you happen to be there as well. So let's see quickly. Let me reload this. No questions yet, but I'm sure there will be. So which wine should we start? I'm assuming we should probably start with the Chardonnay. Is that
Yeah, I think that's the best place to start. So this is a 2019 Russian River Chardonnay. And let's see here. 26.
Yes.
James, are you doing the beauty blogger thing? Put your hand behind it. Everyone can see.
the beauty blogger thing?
Oh my God, it's a thing. They do this with every product. It's the weirdest thing.
What's the hand?
I don't really know. Maybe to turn it away from the light. I'm not sure. But it became a thing for a while.
James is going to practice his hand modeling skills.
Yes. Do you recognize my glasses, James?
Oh, very nice.
These are oh, nice. I like that. Those are from a campaign with you a long time ago.
Oh, is that a Sears glass?
No, Personal Creations.
Even better.
Nice.
All right.
So anyhow,
So this is
we've been working together for, gosh, I don't know, 10 years almost now.
I know, right? Yeah, definitely.
Lovely. So anyhow, let's taste some wine.
So yeah, this is a 2019 Russian River Valley Chardonnay. It's 100% barrel fermented, about 35-40% new French oak. It is just beginning to blossom in the bottle, just cracking open, integrating its wood right now. It's going to be another couple of months. This wine will be much more fruit forward. Right now, it's showing a lot of wood, right?
Yes.
Pretty pear fruit, blossoms. But there's so much more to come. This is just going to expand and expand. It's just a baby, 2019. But it's such a pretty wine. I call this a baby Montrachet. It's got, lots of new oak on it. But again, it's just in this just cracking open phase. Winery that sells this, it's like $45-50 a bottle. I think we had about 700 or 800 cases of it. And I think, it's just one of those functions of COVID where wine tasting rooms were shut down. You don't often see wines of this quality out on the bulk wine market. I'll be honest with you. This one was spectacular. And it's a really lovely bottle of wine. And the wineries, it's a 93, 94, 95 points, year in, year out, vintage after vintage wine. And we're stupendously lucky to have gotten our hands on it.
So do you buy a different lot sizes then, or are you kind of, and what dictates?
All over the place. Yeah. We really don't. You don't see. I think in the summer of last year there were larger lots of high-end Napa Cabernet available from some of the bigger players, just because of the oversupply. But especially after the fires now, those all got pulled back in because of the fires. Everybody was like, whoa, what's going on here with smoke taint, et cetera. So they really wanted to hold on to those inventories. So what from a really long situation is now suddenly probably a more balanced situation now, because you still have declining wine sales and a tough environment to sell into right now. It's a really challenging retail environment to try and sell wine through distributors and wholesalers. It's just brutal. People are just starting to travel again, and it's tough out there to be a winery, small winery for sure.
Right. And part of that is because the smaller wineries are so accustomed to having the restaurants and also push their products, but also having visitors in their tasting rooms. Is that part of it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And the tasting rooms are packed now. So that's back. Right. And the restaurants are back, at least here in the Bay Area. I mean, they're just packed every night. You can't get a table. It's fantastic. It's great. It's fun to be out again. But there's still knock-on effects to all of this. And, you lose what was one of your customers may not be in business anymore from a restaurant perspective, right? Someone who's buying your wines, and maybe your importer, your distributor is not, they're still hamstrung. and there's just, it's just a tough environment still out there. And retail's a mess just because of all the, the big players were the ones that could get glass. There's a massive glass shortage right now. So small producers can't even get wine into the bottle because they can't find glass to put it in or to bottle it in. So, there's all these supply chain disruptions. We have wine that was supposed to have been here in May from France, from Bordeaux. I don't think we'll see it till September. So there's, all sorts of disruptions like that make it it's a tough business right now for sure.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because actually I was at the wine shop down the street from me, and I was like, what's that? Because there was essentially, it looked like a shiner. It's in there with it. Had the back label but no front label. And apparently the hotel that had ordered several cases of it for a private label didn't exist anymore, and so they were selling the Marlboro for like $10. And that should have been like I did my research on the back, and it looked like it probably would have retailed at somewhere $20-$25. So there's some crazy deals out there if you're willing to go shop.
Yeah, they're around for sure.
Uh-oh. Well, it looks
like you're having to look for those deals much, or are you just seeing those, James?
So I stumbled upon it because I'm so thrilled to be back in. I think Cameron went to go find one of those deals.
He was excited to find that deal you were talking about, James.
But no, I think that if you go to your local wine store and you have a relationship, or you ask the guy and you're just curious, you can say like, hey, why is there a stack of boxes of bottles of wine that have no labels on the front?
Right.
And like you've been in wine stores. There's just weird stuff like that pops up.
You see that you may be obviously seeing that a little bit more in California because you're so close to the heart of it. But I can imagine that you would be seeing that. But again, this wine would be $40-$50 is what you were saying, Cameron. It would be $40 or $50 usually.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry, I just lost you guys there. I accidentally closed out my browser.
So we thought maybe you went out to find one of those deals.
He wanted to find that.
I do have a bunch of them piled up here, ready to be opened, but they're probably not going to get to that tonight. But anyhow, this wine's about between $40 and $50 a bottle from this producer. Let's see, and with 93, 94 point score from the enthusiast, the last 3 vintages running. Yep, $40 to $50 price tag, $12 a bottle is what we sold it for. And this is a really unique, elegant, pretty wine. It's all barrel fermented, but I'd said earlier it was about 35-40% French oak. It's not. This is about 20%, and it's again just kind of unwinding in there. I love the pretty apple character to this.
Yes. Good. No, it's very very nice. Look, it's nice, crisp. Nice, delicate sugars, little honey. It's very nice.
It is. And that honey character is going to continue to sweeten up, so to speak, right? And over the next couple of months, as it evolves in here, it'll just get more and more complex. Yeah, part of the issue. So what you need to realize as a consumer, when you purchase from Negoce, if you buy a future, we will ship that wine. Now, if it's in the middle of summer and it's too hot, we're not going to ship it to you. But if you buy in the fall, as soon as that wine goes into the bottle, it gets shipped to you. So when it lands on your doorstep, it is going to be extremely bottle shocked. So when wines go into the bottle, they pick up oxygen. Oxygen forms compounds that sit on top of the wine, almost like a layer, keeping it from being complex. And those things have to break back down again in the bottle. And that can take anywhere from 2 to 3 months, typically, maybe 4. But for big red wines, then the oak pops up, and you still have to wait for that to get reintegrated with all the fruit. So, like I said earlier, these Napa Cabs can take 8, 10, 12 months to come around in the bottle. This has got 5 or 6 months in here, but it's got structure like a Cabernet in terms of acidity. So it's going to need another couple more months to really crack open and they get that honeyed character and that blossom to come out in the mid palate. You smell it on the nose. You don't quite get it on the palate just yet.
Yeah, it's funny. I usually prefer my my Chardonnay, fairly chilled, but this is actually really delicious as it's warmed up too.
Yeah, you don't. These pull this out of the fridge a half an hour before you drink it, right? And let it come up in the glass. Swirl it around. You don't want to drink these ice cold. Any Chardonnay, any white wine worth its salt really shouldn't be super cold. You want them cellar temperature out of the bottle, 55, 60 degrees, where you want to drink those things. Yeah. I mean, not to say that a nice cold-ass wine is not pleasant, but, if you've got high-quality juice, you want it to be expressive, and it's not going to be expressive at 40 degrees at fridge temp. Well,
I think, at least as I don't know, on the lower end, there's a lot of Chardonnay that's just kind of average. But, I think the Chardonnay that I was introduced to really was, probably like most people, the Kendall Jackson. And it's a pleasant Chardonnay, especially when it's chilled. Maybe you have a
great job.
But I'm really impressed by the fact that in the past few months I've started to discover there's a lot of Chardonnays that are really fine Chardonnay, as opposed to looking at Chardonnay as something that was just kind of the discount wine. So this
quaffable.
This is really
I got a bug here. I'm trying to kill.
Color too.
Yeah, we call this limpid yellow. Okay. So should we move on to the Pino? I'm not seeing any questions or comments.
Very nice. Very nice.
Oh, I was going to say, I really like that this isn't that super heavy feeling left in my throat. I love that, because every time I drink Chardonnay, I feel like, oh my God, I feel it for a few more minutes. It's drinkable, and it's not that heaviness, which I love.
It's pretty and elegant. You don't have to shave your tongue when you're done drinking it.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and we do, trust me, I have wines like that.
Oh, no, I like that every once in a while. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We sell everything under the sun. So I'm more like a wine retailer when it comes down to it, right? We're omnivorous, and we sell big, oaky, buttery. We sell Willamette Valley Chardonnays that are just super high in acid and very pretty and delicate and nuanced. So we sell everything in between. Right. The key is just to communicate to people, what does it taste like? Right. Is this something that would appeal to you, right? And it's not just about, selling, because I don't want people to have a case of wine that they don't like. Then I got to send it back, because we guarantee everything we do. So it's the best deal in the biz. It's all guaranteed. You don't like it, we will figure it out, right? Make you happy.
Love that.
Yeah.
Very tasty. Which Pinot are we going for?
So let's up next is a Santa Cruz Mountains Pinot, and this was one of my greatest scores. I love this. This is a beautifully elegant wine. Again, it's young. It's a 2018 wine, and it's got probably close to 10 months in the bottle now, and it's still a baby, just cracking open. This is from one of the absolute founders of the Santa Cruz Mountains Pinot Noir situation, right? Pioneer in the region from like the 60s. And these guys put it on the map, and we're lucky to have gotten our hands on it. And it's an absolutely beautiful Pinot Noir.
Yes.
The nose is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's all there. It takes about 5 minutes to open up. I cracked these bottles about 20 minutes ago and poured out a little bit, and they're really coming around now.
Wow.
That is lovely. That is really nice.
Yeah, in fact, let's see how you like it. Yeah. A bigger glass here.
Apparently we have a connection to you, Cameron. David Stanley writes that this is an interesting internet connection. Cameron Hughes is the cousin of my good friend Anthony Coggins.
Yes. Yeah. That is my cousin, Tony. Hi, Tony, if you're watching.
That's what I love about these shows. Like, you never know who's going to connect to what and who. And
I was having dinner with a guy last night talking about a winery in Napa, and turns out he and I had met 10 years ago at a birthday party for a friend up in Canada. It's just like, and I'm looking at him going, do you know the Fullers? He's like, yeah. And I said, I'm buddies with Clay. So I'm buddies with his brother. And I said, did we meet at a birthday party about a decade ago? Yeah, at his 50th. And I'm like,
oh, wow.
Small world, man.
Wow. This one has some of those nice herbal notes, which we see for the region. I mean, I'm getting some of that that nice thyme. I mean, a little, maybe just a touch of that pepper. It's really lovely.
Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah, definitely get that Garrigue almost Provençal herb. Note, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, very nice. This is great. And again, what would this one usually go for a bottle, and what is it?
This is about $60 a bottle. My God, we sold this for probably 10 or 12 on entry, right? And it's in the store now. I think it's $18. It's still an amazing deal. And, you know, if consumers go in the store right now, a 6-pack of wine is like $10 to ship it to you. If you buy a case, you mix and match. And right now, actually, we have a 20% off 4th of July special going right now in the store that I extended because I wanted to get some tasting notes on recent releases in front of people. So I just said, hey, we'll keep the sale going. I just launched it this morning. We put out a bunch more tasting notes on everything from basically N80 on through like N99, all those numbers, because they now have 5-6 months in the bottle, and we want to get them out in front of people and give them an opportunity to buy it at a discount like the 4th of July sale. So the 4th of July sale is in there right now. It's all auto discounted. You don't have to do anything other than hit the buy button. And if you buy a case, it ships to you free.
Very nice. Very nice. Lovely. And again, when people buy these for the $10 or so a bottle, they're usually buying what, a case at a time, or how does that happen?
Yeah. Almost all the offers for a future, in order to get the big discount, we have to be as efficient as possible. So as soon as it comes off the bottling line, it goes through a QC process, and if the weather's right, we slap a sticker on the box and off it goes. Bye-bye. So that's the efficiency side, and that's how we can get you a hot price if you buy early. But it's all in cases. Occasionally, if I've only got 200 cases of something, and if it's very special bottling, I'll split it into 6 packs just to broaden accessibility. But largely, everything goes out as cases.
So usually that would be a 12-bottle case for the future?
Yeah.
12.
Yeah.
Sometimes
12-bottle cases. Yep.
Got it. No, that's a really good deal. So you get something that's amazing, you can hang on to, you can enjoy now, but you're having a big party, you know you're going to drink a lot of this or love it, it's going to be perfect.
Yeah, and you know, if you want to impress your friends and just just say, I bought this for $10 a bottle, right? And there's going to go, huh? What? Yeah. What?
Or just really impress them and say, no, I can't talk about the price.
Yeah.
I can't say
Actually, $60 a bottle, and I'm sharing it with you. Come on.
That's better, yes.
So how are you? I mean, and I know you touched on it briefly, but how are you able to do it at these prices? How do you do it?
Well, you know, we're very well connected in the business, so we have access to the best of the best. I mean, I've been doing this long enough, and selling it early before I have to actually pay for the wine, right? Because we get terms, we're a known entity in the business, and so you know we can drive a good deal for our customers, and we can get terms on the wine. So as soon as it's in our barn, I've got basically 30 days to pay for it. So I offer it, a portion of it, to you at a bottled price to cover the cost of that wine, and the rest of it's gravy for us. But we still work really lean on these. But you know, that's it in a nutshell. I mean, wine does not cost a lot to make. Okay, it costs a lot to sell. So a $100 bottle of wine costs a producer anywhere, depending on how long they've been doing it, if they own the vineyard, is it paid for, etc. Are they buying contracted fruit? It's between $13 and say $25 a bottle for a $100 bottle of wine. Okay, and so if I'm going to buy that, and that's with super high-end packaging and all the bells and whistles and small lot production, if I buy that wine, it's going to go right to a facility. It's going to go right into the bottle. I buy decent glass. Glass doesn't matter, right? But I don't want to overpay. But you can't buy lots of cheap glass right now because it's not available. So we're right in the middle of the glass pack. And you know, we're just so efficient. We're so low overhead. You know, there's no tasting room. And that's really it. It just, we can cut out all these middlemen that normally market up, and by selling it direct to you, and you can chop 60-80% off. That's really that simple.
Wow. And we've seen during the pandemic, I mean, amazingly, and I followed it more on wine and spirits and distilleries than I have on wineries. But we've seen the ability of, spirits to go direct to consumer from the distillery itself. The laws have loosened up a little bit. Talk about that a little bit, how it relates to wine, whether it be before the pandemic, after, and what you see for the future, what you're doing. So
DTC has been, ever since the Granholm decision in the early 2000s, like 2004, 2005, the leader in getting direct-to-consumer alcohol available, right? So each state has opened up. We ship to about 44 states now where we're licensed. More states are opening every day. I think you can get up to 46 licenses, but I don't want all those because some of them are ridiculously priced to get, and they're a pain in the ass. So, there's some weird restrictions in certain states, that are like, 2 cases per year to a person. That's it. That's all they can buy. Now, how the hell is winery A supposed to know if winery B has already shipped 6 bottles to this guy? It's like, it's unmanageable, right? So there's silly laws like that I don't know how it's managed, quite frankly. But what's happening now is we have huge amounts of, the wineries are good. Wineries can ship direct to consumer with the permits as much as they want. It's a pain in the ass to manage. It's very expensive. But where it's headed is where retailers are now about to, they've got a lot of things coming up in front of the Supreme Court. So hopefully soon retailers will earn the right to be able to ship across state lines the same way that wineries do, get a permit and do it that way. It's, you have these in-state protectionist entities that are, to state legislatures to keep this thing from busting open. But there's also some innovative business models, and we've seen it in the spirit space, because spirits technically, you can't, in most instances, as a retailer, you can't ship it legally across state lines. But what they've got now is consolidation and freight forwarding, and they just basically bump it off the dock of a local retailer's license. So that gets cleared into every state, and so that's happening in the spirits world legally. And I think, though, that it will become less and less necessary as the laws get struck down one by the Supreme Court over time, because they're clearly discriminatory. If an in-state entity can ship direct to consumer, there's no reason why an out-of-state entity can't ship direct to consumer. It's all regulated. It's all tax paid. And if you're afraid of it not being regulated, then just regulate it, because that's all you have to do. But you can't tell this guy you can't ship into that state when you're letting your own people ship all over the state. It's Commerce Clause violation.
You're right.
Simple.
I can't wait till that happens, because I happen to be lucky that I'm here in California, and we've got it's a big sea where there's really, if you don't ever want to go outside California, you don't really have to. But the reality is there's some great stuff in North Carolina, there's some great stuff in Finger Lakes, great stuff in Michigan that I would love to be able to have access to. And unfortunately, the only access we have is the big ones that are overpriced, that have already paid the thousands of dollars in overhead to be able to ship here. Yeah, and it's expensive to get those licenses. This is delicious. I
really good.
So good.
Crystalline quality to it, right? That crystalline mineral in the mid palate, that's just going to continue to coalesce with the fruit and get prettier and prettier and prettier. Some really fine tannins there. They're still slightly mountain grippy, right? What I recommend to folks is, pour this into a decanter for an hour or two, or even like a pitcher, right? Just give it some air, let it aerate for a bit. And then you go back in the bottle with a funnel, preferably, so you don't spill all over, and cork it and come back to it the next night. For these young wines, it's the best way to micro-oxygenate. We call it 24-hour decant, and it's the best way to micro-oxygenate that wine and really crack it open. It's only going to go so far. You can't decant it for 2 days and hope that it's going to really crack open. It just doesn't work that way. It's got to be really slow micro ox, and the acid, the alcohol, the tannin all have to break down in the same time frame, and that's why aging in the bottle is so special. And you just can't really do it in a decanter. You guys want to try the cab?
Yes.
Yeah. I think I've had it sitting out here for a while. I wanted to let it air, to oxidize a little bit. And
I'm just going straight out of the bottle here.
And then what I'm looking forward to with the rest of the bottle later tonight is I couldn't quite finish my huge Wagyu steak from your other company last night. So,
oh my God, I just looked at that.
Something tells me this is going to go absolutely phenomenal with that with that steak.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. I'm assuming it's grilled.
Yeah.
It's the American raised, not the Japanese Wagyu, right?
Correct. Although if your PR person wants to send me I think it was like a 16-ounce American Wagyu, if you want to send me 16 ounces of A5
the Japanese product,
I would not be object to that, but I was very happy to get what I got. So watching along, his other company is Holy Grail Steak Company, and I love the fact that I just have to plug you, even though we're talking about your the Negoce tonight.
Feel free.
But the thing I love about your steak company is that in many ways you're approaching beef the same way a wine lover would approach wine. And you talk about terroir, like most people think a ribeye, and then you talk about a Kobe or Wagyu, but like you can get like 5 different kinds of ribeye with different kinds of terroir, and I think it's just phenomenal how you're really elevating what to many people is just a mundane, like, it's a ribeye. Give me, cook it rare, cook it medium rare, and we'll be happy.
Don't ever.
That was
it's not just a ribeye.
and how about I mentioned steaks, and so the Texas people show up.
Right. Oh my God, you're right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. And it was when I'd gone to Japan back in 2018. I got invited by an importer of Japanese Wagyu because they knew I was starting up the American-raised Wagyu part of Holy Grail. And that's when the light bulb went off. And I saw the difference in feed, genetics, and protocol from southern Japan all the way up to northern Japan, and how the meat tasted different throughout. And that's really kind of when, like I said, the light bulb went off. And there's so much more fun stuff to come with Holy Grail. I can't wait for that company. I've got somebody else running it for me right now because the wine thing just exploded last year, and because I couldn't resist. I mean, I'd been out of the wine biz for like 2 years. I've been sourcing for another company, but not really doing it for myself. And there got to be so much great stuff out there. And the other company was turning down these fantastic wines, and I was like, I have to get back into this. This is just too good of an opportunity. And so we'll begin to get our attention back to Holy Grail hopefully next year, really expand that portfolio because there's so much exciting product out there that is localized and people don't know about. And, it's everything from the carrot-fed beef that we just launched to, some really unique products from offshore that I'm excited to get in front of consumers.
Yeah, the carrot fits. I don't want to distract from the wine because I'm sitting here holding this phenomenal Cabernet Sauvignon. We gotta go that, but definitely let's. As soon as you're ready, I am ready, and I'm sure Tom and Stacy and also Mike, who was going to join us but wasn't able to tonight. He's also a blogger. Would love to talk more about carrot-fed beef and all the other beefy kind of topics. But before we do the taste of this, Mike is asking, are rubber stoppers okay to use after opening, or should you use a cork?
No, absolutely okay. So this is a Noma cork, if you guys can see that. This is a plant-based cork that we use. It's a cellulose material. Has a very predictable oxygen transfer rate. So we marry up. So there's different sizes and different oxygen transfer rates. We match it up with each wine. They're a bit tough to get into the bottle after only a month or two of having been in the bottle. But once they're in there for 3, 4, 5 months, then they're easy to get back in, right? and they're a fantastic closure. And we also use what's called a vink, which is a closure that it's basically chewed up cork that's autoclaved, cleaned of all TCA, rebuilt with a food grade polymer, nanospheres from women's cosmetics to increase or lower the density, and then that predicts the oxygen transfer rate of that closure. I just find, though, that these are more neutral, and they really allow the wine to express itself faster and more purely, and so I'm a huge fan of these closures. But, yeah, you can absolutely use them.
Is that the one that was in the Cabernet Sauvignon that we're drinking, or?
I can't remember which corks I pulled out of what. I've got this big monster machine behind me that like that. I think actually I'm not sure which closure came out of what, but
yeah, this one is in the Pino. You said it was made from cork, and right?
Oh, so that's the vink. This is a vink, right? And this is a Noma cork. So Noma cork here, vink here. This is the same as are close to what's called a diam, and these are called technical closures or agglomerated closures, and they're fantastic. You never get. When was the last time you had a corked bottle of wine that was, in the last couple of years, right? If it was bottled in 1979, yeah, it's a 5-10% chance it's got TCA on it. But we just do not see corked wines anymore from anything bottled in the last couple of years. It's just. Yeah, the technology is great.
You know what's terrible about cork too? Is when you have a nice aged bottle and you put the corkscrew in and you only get the top of the cork out.
Yeah, right? Falls apart or disintegrates. Yes.
Oh. Yeah. I had that happen a few weeks ago, and I was like, "Oh my god, no!"
No, you need to be a surgeon now to get these older corks out. You got to use an osso, right, which goes down the side. You wiggle it down the side. Start to turn it a little bit, then maybe you go into the top with the corkscrew and start to work it out of there. But yeah, it can be heartbreaking.
Yep.
Well, let's smell this and taste this.
Yes.
Yeah, this is. I'm trying to think when this wine was bottled. I think it's probably got about 5 or 6 months here. Yes, it's me. Just bear with me here a sec, because it's just beginning to open up, as all these are in 80. Hope I'm not broadcasting my screen here. That's it. We bottled this actually, 12-15. So what, 6-7 months, almost 8 months in the bottle now, and you can see. It's just. There's tons of oak on here still. Lots of wood, seasoned oak. Kind of caramel notes, right? That's all wood influence here. And, this is all going to coalesce with the dark fruit that's kind of sitting underneath there. But if you give this wine, again, it's one of those 24-hour decants, then you're going to see it all come up. The fruit will come up, right? And you're going to get a much more expressive product the next day.
Now, with the strong tannins on here, and obviously the overall quality of it, what would be the kind of the sweet spot for aging? Is this something that someone should plan to keep in their cellar for 5 years, 10 years?
I think 5 to 10 years for most people is where they're really, really happy. After 10 years with this wine, because it's northern part of Napa Valley, I think that the tertiary, secondary qualities are going to merge a bit faster than they would with, say, a cooler climate, Oakville, Rutherford, Yountville district, or a mountain Cabernet. This is hillside Calistoga, hillside St. Helena, but it's still pretty open-knit style. So 5 to 10 years on this wine would be perfect.
Wow. So nice.
Now, do you hold back some of the wines and so the company is relatively young at this point, but flash forward to 5 years or 10 years from now, would you be selling a 2018 in 2027?
Would I be selling?
Yeah, just kind of as kind of an example of what your investment will could turn into.
I'm not sure I follow you, James.
Okay, so like part of the cost savings is that ultimately that I'm letting it cellar in my own property, and
Yeah.
It's not so that you're not holding on to thousands of bottles.
Yeah, no, that's a huge piece of this. Is that we're flipping the wine so quickly that our cost of capital is pretty much negative versus your normal wine company, which is leverage to the hilt probably. So, it's just that lean and mean nature. And yes, it does fall on the consumer to age these wines, right? I mean, but there's really, this wine would be released I think most of it'd be coming out from the producer as well right now, quite frankly. And we're selling it for $25 a bottle on our website. Everybody in Napa releases wines way too young. Way too young. It just is. They're all barely drinkable when they come out on release, and there's very few people that sit on them. We bought wine from one Stag's lead producer who actually does. They make sure it's 3 years in the bottle before they release it, right? They're still selling 2012, 2013, 2014 wines. Their 2016 is available on pre-sale basis. But anyhow, there's just not a lot of folks that are like that. Everybody else is like, we call it Chateau Le Cash Flow, right? You got to turn it and burn it. And look, this whole model, I didn't invent this. The Bordelais have been doing this forever and ever. It's called En Primeur. Right now, the Bordelais are selling all the 2020 reds as pre-sales, right, before they're bottled. Like a year and a half before they're bottled.
Now, if you go back, 100 years, 50 years ago to kind of where the Negociant concept, started, maybe it was kind of blending wine from different vineyard blocks. Anyhow, are you?
It depends.
Or is this all single vineyard for the most part, or what's actually in the bottle?
We're more of a Burgundy. No, we're almost all of these are 95, 98% one wine from one winery. And we may tweak 1 or 2%, right, just to get it where we want it. But largely these are unadulterated, so to speak, right? So in that way, we're more like a Burgundian Negociant that is preserving high-end wines from high-end vineyards, right? Mm-hmm. And the Bordelais Negociants are very different than the Burgundian Negociants, which actually bottle wine. The Bordelais Negociants, really, their job is just to sell the wine. And so they'll buy it on contract from the chateau, and then it's their job to sell it in these campaigns, right? Mm-hmm. And so they're a little bit different. They're not often going into wineries, putting their own blends together. They may make some wines under their own labels, but we're much more Burgundian in that way, in that we're dealing directly with the estate, and we're bottling up the wine virtually as the estate intended.
Excellent.
Yeah. Like 99% of the time, we don't touch them.
Now, have you ever thought about doing kind of the wine future concept and taking kind of a segment of your best customers, for instance, saying, hey, we've got 300 cases. Let's create something special.
Yeah.
I think where we'll go next is, and we'll have more on this later, but we are putting together a really Grand Cru offering that where we are purchasing grapes and making wine. And I've hired some very talented people to do this. We will begin selling these wines the spring after harvest, the same way the Bordelais do, right? So we're in the process of putting together some grape contracts right now. We'll start small, but this is coming.
Very cool.
Yeah, and we got big plans for this.
In a lot of ways, I feel like you're really democratizing. Maybe democratizing is the wrong word, but
it's a great word.
There's a really high-end concepts that, when I first started going, I like drinking wine, they were really out of grasp of anybody but, the Jeff Bezos and those kind of guys that could drop, hundreds of dollars on bottles or thousands of dollars and have, hundreds of bottles in their cellar. But like I feel like at 250 or 240 for 4 cases, you're actually, I mean, literally anybody can afford it if they just simply like wine. And I think that's a really special aspect that, I wonder what the impact on the industry as a whole will be as you start fostering people that start saying, I hate this catering to the millennial, because I figure that I'm probably one of the oldest millennials out there. Like everything they say that the millennials want, this 40-some-year-old guy also digs. And, I think that's the impact of actually being able to foster a passion, a creativity that results in a long time love and a passion for wine is pretty awesome. That doesn't usually happen.
Well, I'm not trying to cater to anybody. This is a model that we thought worked. But the funny thing is, we were just looking at our Google Analytics the other day. Number one demographic is millennials. I was blown away. I had no idea. I really assumed that it was, I figured it was 50 to 70-year-old men, right? It does skew men, but it was only 60-40. I thought it'd be closer to 70-30. But no, it's 60-40, and millennials are number one. It's like 35-40% of our purchasers. It blew me away. I love it. It's great.
That doesn't shock me at all. I think that there's definitely a desire for for budget and a desire for premium, and you've nailed it.
And they're pretty adventurous. And believe it or not, they are the number one demographic on Holy Grail Steak Company as well. And they're very experiential, right? They want to try new things, and they want to splurge every now and then on Holy Grail. But every day they're buying a lot of cases of wine a day to go. And it's cool too. I mean, it's a great story. I mean, nobody else does it like this. And what a neat story to tell your friends. Like, hey, now you got to be patient. And we've had many people crack these wines as soon as they get them. Like, this is terrible. And I'm like, whoa, you just settle down. I explained this to you, but you didn't listen.
Really good.
And you go, let it sit in there. Give it some time.
I'm very impressed with these. These are very nice.
Thank you. Thanks, Tom. I appreciate it. Guys, I apologize. I have to be, I'm supposed to be somewhere at 6:00. So I have to run.
Well, thank you very much for being here with us. And, I can't wait to taste these wines in like
Wonderful.
5 years.
Yeah.
So they were excellent now, and I'm sure they're only going to get better in 5 years from now. Yeah. So join us for a follow-up.
Go to the website.
In 2026. We're going to be
there you go.
Right.
Hey, I'm sorry I have to run. My apologies.
Thank you
so much, Cameron, and can't wait to see you again online.
Awesome, guys. Thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it. It's great being here with you. Bye now.
Cheers.
And I tell you what, and everybody else left really, really fast. So anyhow, I guess we're going to hit end broadcast here. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.